Subscribe to audio novels for more content and click on the bell icon. We hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.
With two thump-thump sounds, Qin Xue was struck by a speeding BMW, sending her flying into the air before crashing back down onto the ground. The moment she hit the ground, Qin Xue seemingly saw her deceased mother, yearning for her so much. She had initially arranged to have dinner with her best friend today and then go to the karaoke. Who knew that she would be hit while crossing the road after getting off work and leaving the hospital? Maybe this is fate. Surrounded by gasps, she heard someone calling 110 and someone else calling 120 for an ambulance. Qin Xue saw the ground covered in blood, getting colder and colder until she was swallowed by darkness. She didn't notice the jade pendant on her neck, emitting a fleeting glow in the blood. She didn't know how much time had passed before she was awakened by the pain. She opened her eyes, feeling a wave of dizziness mixed with pain in her head. She let out a painful hiss and couldn't help but close her eyes again. When she opened them, she saw a sheet of white overhead. The smell in her nose was that of disinfectant. This must be a hospital. She turned her head, but saw no one. Ever since her mom passed away when she was 5, her dad remarried, her stepmother brought along a sister, and then had a brother with her dad. She was completely alienated from the family. Qin Xue had been living with her grandparents ever since. It was only after they got older and she went to college that she returned to this home. Aside from the living expenses her dad gave her each month, she didn't feel welcomed in this family. However, Qin Xue's cheerful and gentle temperament made her resemble her deceased mother. Her grandmother would always say, "Our Xue is the most beautiful and gentle girl in this world." Her grandfather often sat nearby, tidying up his herbs while chuckling at the sight of his granddaughter and wife getting along. Qin Xue missed her grandparents and planned to take a few days off to visit them as soon as she recovered from her injuries. As Qin Xue's thoughts wandered, someone entered the room. She saw a woman in her early 30s wearing a half-new floral shirt. She was also wearing half-new black pants and a pair of black leather shoes that looked like they had been worn for quite some time, with worn-out toes. In the woman's hand was a red thermos decorated with peonies and a big red happiness character, the kind that was popular in the 1980s. This kind of thermos was mostly used as a dowry item, but this one seemed quite old. What era is this? How could there be such old things and such outdated floral clothes and pants? Qin Xue turned her head to look at the ceiling, only to notice that it was peeling and had chunks of plaster falling off. Fang entered and saw that Qin Xue had glanced at her before looking away. She quickly walked over, put the thermos on the ground, and said, "Qin Xue, you're awake. Is there anything that makes you uncomfortable? If there I, tell me, and I'll call the doctor." Excuse me, who are you? Are you talking to me?" Qin Xue asked the woman in front of her in confusion. Fang Hong was stunned by Qin Xue's puzzled expression. "Of course I'm talking to you, Qin Xue. Are you all right? I'm your sister-in-law, Fang Hong. Don't you recognize me? Did you hit your head too hard? Just wait here, I'll go get the doctor." Saying this, she hurriedly ran out. It wasn't long before footsteps approached, and a doctor entered wearing a white cap, white shirt, and white coat. This was the standard doctor attire. "Is this a hospital? Dr. Chen, please take a look at Qin Xue. How come she doesn't recognize me?" Fang Hong said as she walked beside the doctor. Chen Hao adjusted his glasses and touched the bump on the back of Qin Xue's head before saying, "Ouch, it hurts. No wonder her head hurt so much. It was because of the injury on the back of her head." After touching the bump on Qin Xue's head, Chen Hao asked Qin Xue, "How do you feel now? Which part is uncomfortable?" "I feel dizzy, and my head aches so much that I feel nauseous." Qin Xue guessed that this was a post-concussion syndrome, as she was also a doctor and knew about the situation. You've injured your head and lost a lot of blood, so it's normal to feel that way. Your concussion is a bit severe. Fang Hong mentioned earlier that you didn't recognize her, so it's probably because of a temporal memory loss caused by the blood clot pressing on a nerve in the back of your head. Once the blood clot dissipates, it should get better. Let me take a look at your head wound, and I'll have the nurse change your medication later. There shouldn't be any other major issues. Chen Hao said while unwrapping the gauze and checking the wound, which looked to be healing well. All right, thank you, doctor. Qin Xue expressed her gratitude. Dr. Chen, can Qin Xue eat now? Feng Hong remembered that Qin Xue had been unconscious for several days and was pregnant. She had been surviving on nutritional support, and Chu Molin, her husband, happened to be away on a business trip. With Qin Xue injured, Mr. Xie of her family had no choice but to arrange for Yu Xu from Xu Fangzhou's family to take turns caring for Qin Xue. When Qin Xue first arrived at the institute, her bad temper and unreasonable behavior made her unpopular, and her constant quarrels with her family were heard throughout the residential building. Everyone knew about her reputation. It was even rumored that she had schemed her way into marrying Chu Molin. As someone with his looks and accomplishments surely wouldn't have chosen someone like Qin Xue otherwise. For example, the institute's resident beauty, Su Yun, had been dating Molin with plans to marry him, only for Qin Xue to snatch him away. If Qin Xue had been a good person, it wouldn't have mattered, but she wasn't. When Qin Xue first joined the institute, Fang Hong had been instructed by her husband, Mr. Xie, to take care of her. However, Qin Xue's ungrateful and rude behavior eventually made Fang Hong give up on helping her. But now that Qin Xue was injured and Chu Molin was away on a research trip with no certain return date, Fang Hong was reluctantly forced to care for her and discovered that Qin Xue was already 2 months pregnant. Qin Xue was not only injured and bleeding, but now also suffering from memory loss. Fortunately, she woke up and the baby was safe. Otherwise, who knew how they would have explained things to Chu Molin upon his return? She can eat liquid and light food since her digestive system hasn't adapted yet to being unconscious for several days. So don't eat anything else. If you need anything, just come to me, Chen Hao said indifferently. All right, thank you, doctor. Qin Xue expressed her gratitude. Dr. Chen, can Qin Xue eat now? Fang Hong remembered that Qin Xue had been unconscious for several days and was pregnant. She had been surviving on nutritional support, and Chu Molin, her husband, happened to be away on a business trip. With Qin Xue injured, Mr. Xie of her family had no choice but to arrange for Yu Xu from Xu Fangzhou's family to take turns caring for Qin Xue. When Qin Xue first arrived at the institute, her bad temper and unreasonable behavior made her unpopular, and her constant quarrels with her family were heard throughout the residential building. Everyone knew about her reputation. It was even rumored that she had schemed her way into marrying Chu Molin, as someone with his looks and accomplishments surely wouldn't have chosen someone like Qin Xue otherwise. For example, the institute's resident beauty, Su Yun, had been dating Molin with plans to marry him, only for Qin Xue to snatch him away. If Qin Xue had been a good person, it wouldn't have mattered, but she wasn't. When Qin Xue first joined the institute, Fang Hong had been instructed by her husband, Mr. Xi, to take care of her. However, Qin Xue's ungrateful and rude behavior eventually made Fang Hong give up on helping her. But now that Qin Xue was injured, and Chu Molin was away on a research trip with no certain return date, Fang Hong was reluctantly forced to care for her and discovered that Qin Xue was already 2 months pregnant. Qin Xue was not only injured and bleeding, but now also suffering from memory loss. Fortunately, she woke up and the baby was safe. Otherwise, who knew how they would have explained things to Chu Molin upon his return? She can eat liquid and light food since her digestive system hasn't adapted yet to being unconscious for several days. So don't eat anything else. If you need anything, just come to me, Chen Hao said indifferently. After the nurse changed the medication, Fang Hong asked Qin Xue, "Do you need to use the restroom? Let me help you. After finishing, I'll bring you some porridge from the cafeteria." "All right, thank you, sister-in-law." Qin Xue felt very dizzy whenever she moved, but she also needed to use the restroom, so she got up slowly. Fang Hong helped Qin Xue to the restroom slowly, and then back to bed before going to the cafeteria to get food. It was only after Fang Hong left that Qin Xue slowly lifted her hand to look at it, gradually recovering from her confused state. Ever since Fang Hong called herself Fang Hong's sister-in-law, Qin Xue felt that something was wrong. How could she not have any injuries on her body after being hit by a fast car and only have a wound on her head with a bump? Qin Xue listened carefully when Dr. Chen mentioned temporary memory loss caused by the blood clot pressing on the nerve. She knew she hadn't lost her memory. However, she indeed didn't recognize Fang Hong. It wasn't until just now, when she went to the restroom and saw her hands, that she knew something was wrong. She was a surgeon, and her hands were slender and fair. Now, the hands she saw were also slender, but they were thin and dark, clearly not her hands. But now they were indeed her hands, which could only mean one thing: her original self had died, and she had been reincarnated into the body of another woman named Qin Xue. Being reborn with the same name as Qin Xue, but without any of her memories, had really left her utterly confused. How could she deal with this situation? Being completely in the dark, she sobbed, thinking the heavens should at least tell her where she was and who these people around her were. At least they should tell her what she was supposed to do. As Qin Xue was lost in thought, Fang Hong came back with food. "Qin Xue, I got you some porridge and buns. Eat them quickly." Fang Hong placed the rectangular lunchbox on the table and scooped up some porridge, preparing to feed Qin Xue. "Sister-in-law, help me sit up and lean against the bed. I'd like to eat by myself, please." Even though Qin Xue felt dizzy, she wanted to eat on her own, as she wasn't used to being fed by others. "All right, I'll help you sit up." Fang Hong put the bowl on the table, helped Qin Xue sit up, and placed a pillow against the head of the bed for her to lean on before handing the bowl to Qin Xue. "Sister-in-law, have you eaten yet?" Qin Xue asked as she looked at the porridge. "You eat first. I'll have my meal after you finish." Fang Hong was surprised to hear Qin Xue ask this question. Hearing Fang Hong's reply, Qin Xue said nothing more and started eating the porridge. Qin Xue could have complained about the bland taste of the porridge, but she was so hungry that she couldn't eat anything too hard. Otherwise, it would upset her stomach. She picked up a large bun, broke off a small piece, and found that the filling was a mixture of pork mince and bean thread noodles. The taste wasn't very good, and it wasn't as delicious as the ones she had made herself. However, given her unfamiliar surroundings, she really had no choice. Qin Xue quietly ate half a bun and finished the bowl of porridge before she couldn't eat anymore. She put down the bowl. "Sister-in-law, I'm full. You can go eat now," Qin Xue said after she had enough. Only after seeing that Qin Xue really didn't want to eat anymore did Fang Hong clean up the lunchbox and wash the bowl before going to have her meal. Qin Xue tried to sit for a while but ultimately felt too dizzy. She closed her eyes and found it more comfortable. Her mind raced as she pieced together everything she had seen since waking up. It was evident that this wasn't the era in which she used to live. This place was far more backward, and she might have actually gone back several decades. Sigh, when in Rome, do as the Romans. The only thing that worried her was her grandparents. She wondered how they would cope when they discovered her death. With these thoughts, Qin Xue drifted off to sleep. When Qin Xue woke up again, it was already afternoon. She looked at the sun outside the window, then turned her head and saw a woman sitting beside the bed, knitting a sweater with yarn. The woman appeared to be in her 30s. Her clothing and style were more fashionable than Fang Hong, and the quality of her clothes was also much higher. Her temperament seemed quite good, indicating that her family's living standard was relatively high. Yushu, noticing Qin Xue's gaze, put down her knitting needles. "You're awake. Are you thirsty? Do you want to drink some water or go to the bathroom first?" I'd like to go to the bathroom first." Qin Xue was a bit urgent, as the porridge she had in the morning made her urinate a lot. After Yushu helped Qin Xue to the bathroom, she poured her a cup of warm water and sat down on a nearby stool to watch her drink. "What do you want to eat? I'll get it for you from the canteen." Yushu's attitude was neither cold nor warm, just indifferent. Thinking back to what Fang Hong had said earlier, she added, "By the way, my name is Yushu. Fang Hong and I will take turns caring for you. If you need anything, just let me know." Yushu didn't really have any objections to Qin Xue. It was just her personality to be indifferent to everyone. After marrying Xu Fangzhou, Yushu had 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl was 4 years old, and the boy was 8. Both were attending school and kindergarten, younger than Fang Hong's child. Fang Hong's son was already in junior high school. Since Yushu's children were much younger, it was Yushu who took care of Qin Xue during the day, while Fang Hong took care of her at night. Sister-in-law, you should go eat first. Just get me some porridge when you're done, but take your time and eat well. You can come back after you've finished, Qin Xue said softly. Li Lan entered with the needle kit. Young lady, have you eaten? Would you like to get the injection now or later? I haven't eaten yet, but you can give me the injection first. Qin Xue felt that it was all right to get the injection first, since Yushu hadn't returned yet. All right, let me give you the injection first. Stretch out your hand. Li Lan used a cotton swab dipped in alcohol to sanitize the back of Qin Xue's hand and then inserted the needle into her vein. She secured the needle with tape and put away the sanitizer tools only after Qin Xue's hand was in a stable position. There you go. Be careful yourself. I'll come back later to change the IV solution for you. All right, thank you. Qin Xue watched the drip infusing drop by drop into her bloodstream. She wondered what she should do in the future, as she had never felt so lost. Now, aside from knowing her name was Qin Xue, she knew nothing else. What was her path? Just as the IV bag was nearly empty, Yushu returned with a lunchbox and 2 boiled eggs. You're getting the injection already? Do you want me to feed you the porridge, or do you want to eat after the injection is done? Just set it aside for now. I'll eat after I'm done with the injection. I don't have much of an appetite right now. Qin Xue felt a bit queasy and didn't really want to eat. It's normal not to have an appetite. You've just been both pregnant and injured, on top of losing so much blood. You should have been more careful when you were pregnant. If someone hadn't discovered you in time that day, you might not have survived considering how much blood you lost, let alone the child. Fortunately, both you and the child are safe. What if Chu Malin hadn't come back? Yushu unusually shared so much with Qin Xue, whom she wasn't familiar with, unaware of the impact her words had on her. Cough, 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 cough! Qin Xue choked on her saliva from the shock of the news. Look at you, are you all right? Yushu patted Qin Xue's back until she stopped coughing and then handed her a cup of water. Yushu, what did you just say? Did you say I'm pregnant? Does that mean I'm married already? Qin Xue asked uncertainly. Exactly. Don't you know you're pregnant? How could you become pregnant if you weren't married? Qin Xue, take my advice. After you recover from this injury, live a good life with Chu Molin. Stop arguing and causing a scene. Although Chu Molin doesn't talk much and always has a cold face, he's a good person. You can tell just by how he was willing to put everything aside and marry you. Arguing not only damages your relationship, but also has a negative impact on the child after he or she is born. Don't you think? Yushu shared the advice her husband, Mr. Xu, had asked her to give to Qin Xue. Sister-in-law, didn't the doctor say I had memory loss due to my head injury? There's a blood clot pressing on my nerves, so I don't remember a lot of things. Could you please tell me the details? Qin Xue wanted to learn more from Yushu's words, as everyone else had been secretive so far, besides Fang Hong, who had met her in the morning. Since Yushu was willing to share information, she wouldn't let the opportunity go to waste. I can, but I don't know much either. Yushu was not a person who liked to gossip about others' affairs. If it hadn't been for her husband, Xu Fangzhou, urging her to advise Qin Xue, she might not have wanted to share anything. That's all right, Yushu. Just share with me what you know. I've lost my memory and don't remember anything. When you told me I was pregnant, I didn't even know what to do. Qin Xue revealed her thoughts bit by bit. What can you do? Heal your injuries, take care of yourself and the baby, and live a good life with Chu Molin when he comes back. Though Yushu's facial expression was still indifferent, Qin Xue could feel the concern behind her words. Yushu saw there wasn't much medication left, so she went to call a nurse to change the bottle before talking to Qin Xue about her situation. Actually, I don't know much about you and Chu Molin. What I know is from overhearing others gossiping in the family building. I hope you won't be mad, but people say that Chu Molin was forced to marry you because you tricked him. But I don't know how you tricked him. Originally, people in the research institute said that the institute's beauty was dating Chu Molin, and they were almost ready to file for marriage. Who would have thought that you would suddenly snatch him away when he went out for research, causing a huge ruckus and demanding Qumolin take responsibility, so he had no choice but to marry you. Not long after, I heard your family wanted Qumolin to bring you here, so you came. But since you arrived, there's been non-stop trouble every day, and it eventually led to Qumolin being punished. Then Qumolin and the others went out for research. You got injured and were hospitalized. Ah, that's all I know. Xue finished and felt a bit embarrassed, talking about someone else's personal affairs like this, especially to the person involved. Qin Xue watched Xue's originally indifferent expression becoming uneasy as she talked about her gossip, and her heart stirred. It seems Xue was very insightful. Though she doesn't talk much, she pointed out the key issues without wasting words. Furthermore, Qin Xue could tell that Xue was someone she could befriend. Whether they could become close friends depended on their future interactions. If they couldn't, they could at least be acquaintances, especially since Xue was taking care of her now. She didn't want to leave a bad impression. It's all right, Xue. I don't mind. I lost my memory and don't remember anything, so I'm in the dark. Speaking of which, I should thank you for telling me all this. Otherwise, I wouldn't know if I offended someone or not, although I may have already offended everyone. From Xue's words, Qin Xue knew that her past self had offended everyone. But now that she was in this body, when people talked about the past, they were talking about her. So she needed to turn those bad things around and work towards a better future. It's time to change, starting now. Seeing Qin Xue like this, Xue thought the rumors might be wrong. If Qin Xue knew what Xue was thinking, she could only sigh. She didn't have her past self's memories, but she believed she could bring back her good reputation as long as she managed everything well. Although she wasn't someone who cared much about her reputation, now that she was married and had a child, having a good reputation would be beneficial. It wasn't until she finished her IV drip that Qin Xue started eating. The porridge and eggs were still hot, thanks to Xue, who was thoughtful enough to keep them warm in a basin of hot water. This small act showed how considerate Xue was. Perhaps her indifference was just because they weren't familiar yet. The porridge today was quite thick, and Xue added some pickles, making it very appetizing. Qin Xue ended up finishing the whole box of porridge and 2 eggs, which made her feel a little embarrassed for eating so much. Well, Xue, I've finished eating. Qin Xue handed the empty lunchbox to Xue with embarrassment. Seeing Qin Xue's expression, Xue knew what was bothering her and took the lunchbox. Hey, what's the big deal? It's just a box of porridge. You're pregnant now. It's good to eat a lot.